Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to invite you to the end of the plenary agenda. We will invite our moderator and keynote speaker to lead this session through online Zoom meeting. Please welcome our moderator for this session, Muhammad Arfin Muhammad Salim, PhD. And for our keynote speaker, he is the professor at Bernamont University Business School, visiting professor at School of Hotel and Tourism Management, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Please welcome Professor Dimitrios Buhalis. For moderators and speakers, the Zoom is yours.
Kedengaran suaranya. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Hello?
you, Mr. Arifin, very clearly.
Bali, could you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you fine.
Okay, good. All right then. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good afternoon, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, General Secretary of Tourism and Creative Economy, Head of Department, Head of Human Resources Development, and Directors of Tourism Polytechnics of Bali, and all Directors of Tourism Polytechnics under Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy, and all committees and all participants. I think it is a great application for me to be moderator for this session. I am Arfin, you can call me Arfin, and my full name is Muhammad Arfin Muhammad Salim. I will be moderating for this session. And well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all to this session. On this occasion, we would like to have a presentation from Professor Dimitrios Buhalis by the topic Hospitality Marketing and Specialization in E-Tourism. But before the session begins, allow me to introduce our distinguished speaker. This is Professor Dimitrios Buhalis, Director of E-Tourism Lab and Deputy Directors of International Center for Tourism and Hospitality Research and Bernamont University Business School. And also he's a visiting professor at School of Tourism, Hospitality and Tourism Management, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. And actually he has a lot of many achievements, but I cannot read all because it's about 30 achievement or 31 achievement that the professor has. And one of his strategic management and marketing professional with the global academic and enterprise recognitions. And also professor has a lot of experience, but I think I just want to read one or two from this experience. One is the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, visiting professor. Bernamont University, as a professor, established chair in tourism and directors in tourism lab. Yeah, I think. And I think one is Emerald Insight, editor and editor-in-chief and tourism review. So I think this is the a little about Professor Dimitrios. I know you well, Mr. Professor, because I cite you more about your paper and your writing in my thesis and also in my publication. So I think I know well from the writing, but I think I'm very happy to see you today because it's directly to meet you as I cite in my writing or in my publications. I think without further ado, let's welcome the presenters or the speaker for today to deliver the presentations. Well, Professor, times and screen are yours.
Salamat pagi. Great to be with you in Bali, almost virtually, because obviously I cannot be with you, but I'm with you in spirit and I'm with you supporting all your initiatives. The Polytechnic in Bali is almost my home, and you see some of the wonderful experience that we have created in 2019 together. And Bali is a very special place for me. I've been coming to Bali for the last 30 years. In fact, I had a 25 years break from Bali, and it's absolutely incredible to see the connections and to see the energy and to see the beauty of Bali. And it gives me a fantastic pleasure to speak to you today and bring some of the global expertise and knowledge on how we can take some of the technology and the smart tourism tools forward to restart the industry. So allow me to go through a few slides, and then hopefully we'll have a lot of questions and we'll be in a position to actually have a real conversation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a little bit of time in the context to understand where the context is, and then I'm going to explain to you some of the tools that are coming out of my research, and I'm going to give you a lot of work to do. I'm going to give you a lot of reading, because a lot of those things is the things that we need to learn in order to be able to do things. As you said already, I'm in Bournemouth University Business School, but I'm currently in the School of Hotel and Tourism Management at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University on sabbatical. And what I'm also doing is I'm finishing the Encyclopedia of Tourism Management and Marketing, where many of you have already contributed, and also publishing the Tourism Review, editing the Tourism Review. A lot of information and a lot of things that is in this presentation is coming from my books. So this is the gamification for tourism book that we created recently, but I'll show you several other things, plus a lot of the things coming out of the encyclopedia, and I'll show you the pyramid in a minute, and a lot of the things that are coming out from Tourism Review, all the articles that we're publishing to support the industry and academia globally. Now, you know already, you know better than anybody else that tourism is at an era of crisis, and that crisis is really dramatic. And we'll be seeing a lot of these really bad, ugly scenes everywhere. And now you see what's happening in Shanghai. I really want you to realize that COVID has not gone yet. I know that we are all desperate to start, but COVID is not gone yet. And we are going to be very careful on the way we are opening things. And this is a graph from London, from England, and you can see what's happening with the waves. And you see that when they opened up recently, you see hospitalizations going up, and you see more cases coming forward. So please, make sure that you follow all the instructions that we had. Make sure that you follow all the hygienic protocols. Make sure that you are using all the things that we have said in the past in terms of hygiene, in terms of distancing, in terms of masks, and also make sure that you are vaccinated. This is the only way we are going to go out of this really bad disaster. And crisis is something that we see everywhere. This is the situation in Ukraine currently, and I know that in Bali it may not affect you as much, but in other places it will be a huge issue. Although I know that you had Russian tourists coming to Bali. And the next big thing will be the impact on fuel and also the inflation. Inflation is going really, really bad everywhere in the world, and that will have major impacts in tourism, and will have major impacts especially on island destinations that they depend on air transportation for passengers to arrive. So we are not going back to 2019. We are going forward, and we really need to understand the challenges. I know that a lot of people are looking for me to give you an optimistic message, but I'm going to say to you that we're going to have crisis for the next 2 or 3 years. Now, you remember 2019? We had fun, right? I'm going to show you some pictures, you'll be surprised. And some people were talking about over-tourism, but it was really a badly managed tourism, but life was fairly sweet. Here is some wonderful meeting that we had with you guys in the Polytechnic, where the academy, and we had some wonderful experiences with the local Balinese people, and we kind of blended in, and we had a fantastic time, and we really thank you and your students. This was a wonderful time to be with you and co-create things. But a lot of the tourism industry that we had in 2019 was not always sustainable, right? This is a situation that you find in a lot of places around Bali, in different other places. And let's face it, it's not because of tourism, but also because of tourism as well. We are destroying our planet. And I very much hope that you took these 2 years to actually clean your island. Your island is beautiful, is spiritual, is wonderful, but it's very dirty. Please clean your island. Please clean the tourism destination around the world. You're not going to have tourism unless we actually go back to basics and protect our resources. COVID created a crisis unlike any other. We've seen all these bad things. I lost my sister during COVID, which is unbelievable, and I still cannot recover from that. And you can see what happened. How many planes we had in May 2020, how many planes we had on the 5th of May 2020. But you'll see that tourism has grown for the last 40 years. And it grew dramatically. It didn't stop. It only stopped with SARS and only stopped in the global economic crisis in 2009. But we had 30, 40 years of expansion. This is the world passenger traffic over the years, and you can see which were the other crises that have been affecting us. But you see, all in all, we had a wonderful kind of development of tourism, and we had a lot of benefits coming out of this. Now, when you see the crisis and COVID, you see that we're going through different waves. This is the Chinese domestic passenger traffic experienced in the last 2 years. And you can see that when we have a wave of COVID, passenger lines are going up, and you can see the waves very obviously on what has happened. And that's why we really need to manage all of those things. Now, in terms of predictions, it's really we're trying to see what's going to happen in tourism and how we're going to progress in different areas and how tourism is going to be coming back. But you need to realize that a lot of countries are still closed, especially China is closed, and several other countries are quite very reluctant. And what we see is that many countries are very keen to open up, especially tourism countries that they depend more than 40-50% of their income, or regions that they have got more than 40 or 50% of their income depending on tourism. But again, we need to realize what are the issues that comes with that. And again, the war may have major implications, and we need to really look into how we can bring peace in Earth. When you look into what has happened, you see that for the first time ever, we realize how important tourism is. For the first time ever, we realize that tourism is really, really critical for consumers because of their mental health. We just felt for the time being trapped in prison, not being able to travel. And some people are still are prisoned in their own home. Look at what's happening in Shanghai right now. Okay. And all of a sudden we realized that it was not as easy, or it was almost impossible to do what we've done and we took for granted for a long time. I remember last time I came to Bali, I had a big trip from Greece to Dubai, and then I went to Orlando in the United States. I came back to London, and then I came to Bali, all that in 5 days. We were moving, like, get me a passport, get me a ticket, I'll get on the plane, everything's happening. All of a sudden, everything stopped. And the impact of that are quite dramatic. I know that in Bali, you felt it more than a lot of other places. This is my favorite picture, but actually it shows how important it is. No tourists, no food. People in the Ubud Arts Market, they were saying. And a lot of people I know that they went to the north. This is in Australia, in the Cairns Aboriginal Park, the Chabukai that had to shut down during COVID, and they're not going to be open again because of the financial problems they had. This is on Naxos Island. This is a guy who is producing cheese. He couldn't sell his cheese because there are no tourists to buy his cheese. So everywhere and all the sectors realized how important that is. I came early and I said, look, we really need to have humanity, solidarity, leadership, and resilience in order to come out of this. Humanity and solidarity is really about looking after human beings and looking after all our people around us, whether they are the market, whether they are in the tourism industry, and we really need to look after each other. We really need to be kind. We really need to be caring, and we need to support each other. And I think this is really important, that a lot of beautiful actions of kindness have become obvious during this period. We've seen a lot of people sacrificing themselves, volunteering, providing food, providing services, providing all kinds of things for people in need. When we realize how important it is to develop resilience, and we really need to develop resilience by building resources and supporting people to understand how they can go forward. And also we need leadership in order to be able to do that and take things forward. But after every crisis, there is a rainbow, there is hope, and we start going to the next stage. And we are getting into a situation where resilience is going to be built on smartness and agility. And of course, we need herd immunity in order to be able to move forward. So as soon as I was vaccinated, I escaped and I went to the Greek islands, and I really needed some vitamin C. And I really, you're on an island, you know how important C is for us, right? So I had to go to Naxos, and because Naxos has got the temple of god Apollo that you can see on the front of my encyclopedia, and I had to go to the temple and pay respect to god Apollo. And in the encyclopedia, one of the things that we brought forward was the tourism pyramid. And I think anybody who is studying tourism must read this, because this is bringing all different aspects of tourism together. We had the tourism system in the past, based on Neil Lippier, who actually I met in Bali back in '95. Unfortunately, Neil is not longer with us. And the tourism system includes the travel generating region, and it includes the destination region and all the resources that we've got to manage, and all the attractions, activities, amenities, accessibility, and ancillary services, and available packages, and all the small businesses, and the tourist boards, and the government, and all the bodies that they need to actually manage the destination. These are the organizations and the stakeholders that they need to create tourism in such a way that benefits the destination and ensures the sustainability of the destination. These are the organizations that not only need to create services within their premise, but also they need to look after the destination. They need to make sure that the destination is clean. They need to make sure that you maintain the sea cleanliness, the water resources, the environment, all the things that actually make Bali or any destination a unique and magic place. It's not only about keeping my hotel right, or my restaurant right, or my attraction right, or my Varung right, and everything else is bad. We really need to look after our destination, and this is really critical. And then the travel region, we see that there are so many diverse kind of needs and requirements, and we see that customers are moving very, very fast in this new environment. And we see a lot of technology and transportation developments on the transit region, where we're connecting those things. Now, what we do in the tourism pyramid is really looking to what resources are coming into the destination, into the tourism system, and on the other side, what value is it being co-created and for whom? So we really need to coordinate the resources that are coming from one side and the value that's coming on the other side. And we really need to do it sustainably in a way that we manage the destination and we manage the benefits for all those people that they are part of this system. And in order to do that, we need to understand the basis of how these things is operating. So here you've got planning and management strategy that we need to apply. You've got market forces where we need to understand what is happening in our competitive markets, the exogenous variables that we've seen so important, how important they are in the last 2 years, and then all the technology and the infrastructure that is enabling us to operate the whole system. So the pyramid provides the basis where the tourism system comes along and operates, and it of course needs balancing on top of the pyramid. So we need to make sure that the pyramid is solid. We have a very clear understanding of planning, management, and strategy principles. We have got a very clear understanding of the market forces, the exogenous variables, and the technology and the infrastructure that we need to use in order to be able to balance the entire system and to make sure that the entire system operates for the benefits of the stakeholders. Not the benefit of one stakeholder. Quite often we say, what's the service for the customer and all the rest of it. But it's not only about the customer, it's not only about the hotelier, it's not only about the tourist board, it's about creating value for everybody and mainly taking advantage of tourism for the local people, the local residents that own the resources. Okay, it's not good to go into Bali and take the resources from the Balinese people and repatriate money to wherever the capital comes from. It's really about how do we engage the local Balinese people in the value co-creation and how can we manage the tourism industry in order to satisfy the needs of the local people. Let me get a glass of water. So what we need to do is we need to see how we can reignite tourism in the most efficient way. And to reignite tourism, we need to understand that we are very blessed with the assets that we've got. We still have got all the assets because the last 2 years actually has not destroyed the asset. If anything, it has enabled us to look after the assets. And I very much hope that you have taken this opportunity now that you are not busy. And Kevin earlier on was saying that is now that you're not busy, it's really improving your infrastructure, it's really improving your facilities and making sure that the experience that you can create is much better than what you were doing before. We really need to look into how we can create authentic experiences and how we can differentiate what we do in order for this co-creation to happen. But we need to look forward. A lot of people around the world, they ask me, Professor, how can we go back to 2019? And I think we're not going to go back to 2019. We're going forward to 2022, 2023, probably 2024, we'll see the volume of business building up. But I think it's really critical that people understand that the past is almost irrelevant. We need to learn from the past and improve the future. So if you're seeing and you're watching things on the mirror, it's a really bad way to drive like that because you'll have an accident. So the best way to drive is to look far ahead and understand how you can go ahead in order to understand what needs and requirements people will have and actually create the right strategies, the right planning using the pyramid to satisfy the different stakeholders in the future. So please do not try to go back to 2019. Please go forward towards 2030. And what we've learned is that we've got the end of planning and the beginning of agility. In the past, we used to plan for 1, 2, 3 years. And in the past, we were in a position to actually have an understanding of what's going to happen in the next 2, 3 years. Now, what we've learned during this last 2 years is that the long-term planning is almost 2 weeks. Sometimes in 1 week, everything had to change. Governments were coming in and they were saying, okay, we're closing the borders, we're closing the restaurants, we're doing that, we're doing the other. And restaurant owners were saying, what am I going to do with all this fish that I bought? What I'm going to do with all this material? What am I going to do with my staff? And we had to find new ways to actually operate. And a lot of these things were not very pleasant, but we had to learn how to do it. So the beginning of the agility is really about looking to all the different things that we've got out and bring destination strategies that they take they create competitive advantage through differentiation of destinations. We need to make sure that we manage our resources in the best possible way, to develop our image and our reputation, to nurture new business models through innovation and investment, and optimize our resources. We need to optimize our resources for the next generations. And we need to make sure that our resources are not consumed all now. We are in a sustainable way. We need to operate with the different stakeholders to ensure that we can all benefit from the situation. And we need to bring benefits back to residents. And I really, really like to emphasize that, especially in places like Bali, where you really need to engage with the local communities. And I know that your system in Bali operates like that, with the villages and the structure of the communities. It's quite often you're protecting the benefits for the local people. Now, the Sustainable Development Goals are going to take us towards 2030. And this is the things that now I'm concentrating on my research in looking to how tourism is actually addressing each one of the Sustainable Development Goals. Because what you find is that there is not a single goal that is not actually impacted by tourism, especially in insular places. So tourism needs to be right in the middle of the strategy and the planning of any government in order to be able to achieve all those things. And quite often people are thinking, okay, this is beyond me. This is really at the very high level. This is really at the government or the international organizations that they're going to do. But no, we really need to go back to basics and really need to go back and look into our communities and see what can we do in our communities to learn from these things. Now, for my friends in the Polytechnic in Bali, they know my good friend Bagi that you're going to see in a minute, and you can see that this is the best meal I had for the last 30 years of my life. This is by the beach in Gibran Bay, Bagi cooking it on coconut shells, and it's the best experience you can have. It's so authentic, it's so wonderful, yet so simple, and so into the community. So I met Bagi back in '95 in the first Varung that was on Gibran Bay. And the first thing I did when I came back in 2019 is look for Bagi, and we managed to find him. And then I managed to surprise everybody in the Polytechnic by saying we are going to do the official dinner in this place. And actually, it's exactly what people remember. They remember the experience they had, the simplest, the most wonderful, but so Balinese, so authentic, so real, so embedded with the local community. I'm putting the card there, so I'm just promoting Bagi for the time being, right? So if you're in Bali, please go and say hello to Bagi, because this is really what we need to do. We really need to go to the local people, and we really need to look after them. And quite often, I know a lot of people are coming to Bali and they're looking for the international hotel chains, and they're looking to these wonderful things, and to this kind of American kind of service. But please go back to the local people. Have the local experience wherever you go. Okay, find what's local, find what's authentic, because that's the most beautiful thing. And I'll tell you what. I meet a lot of people who came to Bali in 2019, and the day they remember most is this. Because all the other things we can do in anywhere around the world, but this was really, really unique, and that's absolutely wonderful, and that's so Balinese. So that's the context. If we're trying to take things forward with the tools that we've got, I'm going to go through some of my research in the last few years where we're building smart tourism tools and to bring agility and ambient intelligence in the marketplace. So smartness is really about taking interconnectivity and interoperability of all the different stakeholders together, and in order to create networks of tourism provision and service and experience co-creation. And it's really about bringing all the different elements and all the different stakeholders in a way that they can simultaneously co-create value in real time, understanding what's their context and what is how they can take advantage of the developments that they are happening around them. And especially during the COVID time, we see how real-time co-creation and collaboration between different partners was absolutely critical. Someone said something?
Yeah, excuse me, Prof, because we have a limited time. We have 10 minutes more.
10 minutes of presentation, right?
Yes. Oh, no. And with question and answer.
Okay. Do you want me to stop here?
Okay.
Okay, I'll go in the 10 minutes. Okay.
So make a conclusion, I think.
All right. Okay. So what you do is you really need to look into all the enabling technologies and to see how you can synthesize innovations based on the technologies, and then come in the marketplace where the supply side and the network and the customer network is coming together to co-create these developments. It's really when the technology is bringing innovations and the technology is bringing the opportunity to actually co-create value. And one of the most important things is really understanding the context. What is the context, the internal context for individuals in terms of their likes, their dislikes, their goals, their preferences, their abilities, disabilities, their allergies, and what's happening in the external context. In our situation now, the pandemic became much more important, but you've got things like location, weather, social environment, season, political situations, traffic emergencies, delays, and things like that. And of course, we need to understand that different customers operate in a very different ways. So when consumers are going around, what they do is they're using their mobile to connect with their smartphones and all the technology to connect with people that they find at the destination, but also to connect with people that they're online social contacts. So this is the base of metaverse effectively, because what happens is that people are using face-to-face and digital tools at the same time to connect with a lot of different stakeholders to create benefits. In order to be able to understand what's happening, we need big data, and we need to analyze the big data in real time, and we need to look into how we can learn from the big data in order to operate in this dynamic, volatile, and very time-sensitive industry. And we need platforms at the destination where we understand what is happening with the platforms and we engage with different customers and the different stakeholders on the destination co-creation basis. So we really need to see how we can bring together all the stakeholders in platforms, destination platforms, in order to be able to coordinate the co-creation of activities. Now, nowness in real time has become really, really important, and we really need to understand what's happening at the location in real time. And real time becomes absolutely critical in terms of creating instant gratification. We used to have price or differentiation as the sources of competitive advantage. Increasingly, what it is instant gratification. Can we have the right product at the right time to the right customer at the right price? This becomes much more important. And we really need to focus on real-time co-creation to understand what is needed and actually use technology and human intelligence to deliver what's needed at the right time at the place. And when you're trying to manage the entire destination, you're really trying to bring together all the different actors, and you need interoperable, intelligent, and interconnected systems to develop the resilience of the destination. Obviously, I don't have the time to explain each of these things in detail, but I'm giving you all the references so you can take advantage of the reference there. And we are getting to a stage where everything will be interconnected with everything. And that's going to be when we have got what we call ambient intelligence. And ambient intelligence will have customer centricity, customer will be in the middle, and then you have got a whole range of different technologies around them to support their needs and their requirements and enhance how they're going to operate in this environment. And of course, robots is the next big thing that's coming up. And robots are here already, and they're doing a whole range of different things. And from information provision to service, and we use artificial intelligence to understand how robots will operate. And this is a global research that we've done recently in looking what would make managers adopt robots, and what will make robots being more acceptable in hospitality, and how we can take advantage of the technological developments in terms of the robots. And a lot of robots are already in different operations. And I like to leave you with this, because this is a dancing robot at the Robot Tea, and it's just after it created a tea for me in order to tell me it did this little dance. Of course, I would like a Balinese dance any day rather than a robot dance, but I thought that was cute. So I know I had to go through many different papers and many different ideas. This research that we've been creating for the last 35 years, but in the last 4 or 5 years, it's been really intensified. I thank you very much, Suksima, and this is how you get in contact with me.
Thank you very much, Professor Buhalis. I think let's give applause for Professor Buhalis. Ladies and gentlemen, so we come to the next session because the time is limited. I think will be 2 or 3 questions will be. Is there any questions? Any questions from the online or from the offline that we can raise your hand?
Perhaps you were so clear, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Yeah, you know that the professor has talked about the crisis in tourism. I think there are 2 factors that we know nowadays about the cleanliness, and also COVID-19 becomes the very very impacted to the tourism right now. And also now we have to be optimistic, as you say, that we look forward to, don't look back. It means that we have to look forward. Yeah, and then there are the strategy for tourism destinations is competitiveness, differentiations, enhance reputations, and also nurturing the new, and also optimism. I think, and this residents benefit that have to think when developing the tourism. And I think, do you have any questions? We still have 5 minutes, I think, or 3 minutes for the questions, guys.
I'm going to send you my presentation, so if people need to get in contact, they'll need to get in contact.
Yes, you can share your presentations to us. So I think it's a very good presentations, that the times are very limited. I think we have to talk more about the tourism, and I think it is a very benefit for us to, particularly for the academician and also for the practitioner in tourism, so we can look at some solutions in terms of the crisis in tourism. Any questions? Yeah, can you help me, the host? Maybe someone has questions on another link. Yeah, I think if we have no questions, if you have no questions, I think we have no questions, Professor. So, as a moderator, I'd like to say thank you very much for your time to share with us. I think it's a very excellent for presentations for today, and then give us the insight about the tourism, in particular for the crisis in tourism, and also then I will say that we have to reignite tourism. I think it is the important terms that we have to use in this session. I think reignite the tourism, and also we look forward. It means that we have to be optimistic in facing the situations now, and after pandemic will be any kinds of successful in tourism. I think that's all. I think I'd like to say thank you very much, and we have we have to get in touch in any time. Thank you, Professor Buhalis. I know well about you because I cite you writing many in my thesis. Yeah, I know well since 2017. Well, I think that's all. This is the end of the session for today because there are no questions, no raising hand. So I think again, I'm very sorry if there is something wrong with us. My word maybe in moderating the sessions. And again, Prof, thank you very much. And I close this session. Or maybe before closing, do you have something to say as a closing, Prof?
No, I think I really feel for global tourism and particularly for places that they depending on tourism, like Bali. I think I really want you to really very carefully examine what you were doing before and look into what needs improvement. I love your island, I love Indonesia, but there are a lot of things that you need to do differently.
We wait for you in Indonesia again.
Thank you. You need absolutely to create clean environments and to make sure that you look after your own people and your culture and to look after all the Balinese people and all wherever you are in different places. And take advantage of the tools that I've just created and look after the local communities, because we really need to support the local communities. Thank you very much. I very much look forward to come and visit.
Again, thank you very much, Prof. And I do apologize if any mistakes during the sessions. And I close the sessions with goodbye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arifin and Professor Buhalis.
What is the MC? To the host?
Yes, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our last speaker for this session.
I can't hear you. I can't hear from Bali. You mute.
Can you hear me now? I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's clear.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is our speakers for this session. We will continue for the appreciation session for our speaker and moderator. We would like to give the certificate of the second INHAE 2022. For the first certificate will be for our speaker, Professor Buhalis.
Thank you so much, Suksima.
Muwali. We will take a picture of you or a screenshot, Professor Buhalis. So on my mark, 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much, Professor Buhalis, for all the knowledge and the information that you share with us. And for the next certificate, it will be for our moderators, Mr. Arifin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arifin. I will take a picture or screenshot. On my mark, 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much, Mr. Arifin.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is all of our plenary sessions with our great speakers. Afterward, we will continue to the next agenda, which is parallel sessions. Our